Josh Harris and his ownership group put a story. It's not really a story. They took out an ad, is what it is. They paid for it in the Washington Post. Nikki Javala did write a great story in the Post about Harris and kind of the path from childhood to owning the team, and how he and Mark Ian have been friends since kindergarten, and now they're in this together. How Mitchell Rales enters the equation, kind of all of the local guys. Pathways from their youth in the D.C. area to being the owner of the football team. But Harris took out a full page, they call it a wrap in the Washington Post, which is funny in one sense because it's very old school, but I think there's enough people that still get the Washington Post that it registers, and it's more of the idea of like, yes, we can put this online as well, but we want more people to see it than just the people that consume our stuff. We want everyone to see it. So the younger folks that perhaps don't subscribe anymore, don't get the paper thrown at the door, will see the digital version, and folks who still get the paper thrown at their door will get the paper version. Alas, the letter says, "Dear Commanders fans, this week my partners and I were entrusted by the NFL with the stewardship of your great franchise. This agreement is more than simply a business transaction. We understand that we are taking on the responsibility of managing a public trust." Honestly, that could have been the entire letter. It's like, what is the difference between the Dan Snyder administration and the Josh Harris administration? The Harris Ownership Group, a.k.a. HOG, which is awesome. My guy Teresh was the first one I ever saw use that, but it's just, who's the HOGs? The Harris Ownership Group. To understand that it's not his team, which, by the way, if we're speaking factually, it is. As much as we conceptually think of sports teams as a public trust, and there are reasons to say that they are. They need the public support. If the fans don't go, there's no team. Fans don't support it, there's no team. And that way it's the same as any other business. Like, it's just the city's name is on it. If Magic Johnson's movie theaters in PG County don't have anybody going, they shut down. If they're not, if you're a local restaurant, don't need to tell anybody in the restaurant business. That's one of the hardest industries in the country, in the world. Like, you don't have patrons, your business shuts down. The NFL's a lot more foolproof than a restaurant, but it is his team. He's the one in charge. He gets to make all the decisions. But understanding that the whole reason it exists in its current form is a public trust, and running it like that will lead to better results, I think is a good approach to have. Anyway, he also says, your great franchise. Like, this does belong to the fans. And just so folks understand, like, the history of sports in many respects, and I'm talking like the real history of sports, actually is true public trusts, and it really was the town's team. Like, the town owned it. English soccer is the biggest network of this. Obviously, now at the highest levels, there are no clubs. They're owned by billionaires, including some American billionaires. But for instance, in Germany, the Bundesliga, the top league in Germany, it's required that the fans still own. And it is truly what the Green Bay Packers are, where it's owned by a large number of people, and it is a public trust. But to treat it like that, I think, is remarkable, and it shows, and at the very least, the most cynical version of it is it's great marketing. But even understanding what great marketing is puts Josh Harris ahead of what the last guys did. Last guys specifically. So if he truly does feel that way in his heart of hearts, the most generous version of this is this feel-good story that makes me go, wow, this guy gets it, and I really am pulling for him. The most cynical version of this, at least that I can think of, is, hey, he's actually a smart businessman. Excellent work, Josh. So that's good. His letter continues beyond this very simple yet all-encompassingly important first paragraph. As a lifelong Washington football fan who grew up here in Chevy Chase, I know that the Commanders are more than just a sports team. This franchise is an institution passed down from generation to generation. Whether it was the stories my parents told me about Sammy and Sonny, or the stories that I tell my own children about the team under Coach Gibbs, 3 Super Bowl rings, 8 playoff appearances, and 154 wins. The organization has a rich history of excellence and success. I remember walking into RFK as a kid and feeling the stadium physically rocking with energy. It's that feeling and the power of this franchise that brings people together. And it's that excitement and commitment to winning that we aim to bring back to Washington fans today. It's no secret that these past few years have been tumultuous for our franchise and our fans, but today marks a new era for the Commanders. From day one, it is our top priority to deliver you a championship-caliber team. With a proven track record of winning across sports and business, we invest and plan for long-term success. We listen, we learn, and we are eager to immerse ourselves in this franchise to guide it with the respect and dignity it deserves. Most importantly, we hope to earn your trust. We look forward to meeting you in the community and soon at FedEx Field and learning how we can make the maximum positive impact. Our promise is simple. We will do the work, create the culture, and make the investment needed to deliver for this team and for Washington. We will strive every day to ensure that we are a franchise you can be proud of. And that beginning that I harped on earlier and the end are the most important thing that sandwich a very, very well written and I think very well thought out middle. Like, yes, they will do all those things. Yes, they have had a track record of doing this and thinking about it on the long term, not just hunting short-term success. But one of the things that I said all, throughout this process is the one thing Josh Harris can bring you on day one. Everything else is going to take a lot of work. But the one thing Josh Harris can bring you on day one is that you can say, I'm a Commanders fan, and not have people look at you sideways. Not feel like you have to explain yourself, whether you feel like you should have or not. Because I know there's disagreement. Some people are unapologetic in their fandom. Other people are very apologetic or perhaps even put aside their fandom. But no matter where you were on that spectrum, you can now today go, yeah, I'm a Commanders fan. Yeah, that's cool, right? Yeah. And you just mosey on about your day. No guilt, no feelings of negativity in any kind. And that pride that you can take in rooting for a team that you don't know is doing a bunch of garbage on a very human level is already a box ticked that wasn't ticked this time last week as we all waited for the final vote and ultimately the ink to dry. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. Of course, then there's the work. So much of it to do for Josh Harris and company, including the stadium. What's the run of play in D.C.? Some of the city council members have put their voices on the record. We'll talk about it at 5 o'clock with Sam Fortier and amongst ourselves next here on the Team 980.
This is the Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.